It was more support in the beginning, I think, when a lot of people thought it was more of a hobby, like a school thing. Everyone knew, and I think that is relevant to a lot of different artists, is that people usually can tell this person is creative or artistic and, oh, you love doing da-da-da. But then when you tell people, like, no, this is how I want to live, this is how I want to make money, they be like, wait a minute. Like, what? I think for me, like, the most important thing was my mother. My mother never told me or my younger brother we couldn't achieve something. You know, she always told us, if you're going to do it, be the best at it. If you want to sell hot dogs on the corner, she said, be the best hot dog seller on the corner. And so I remember I had went to Fairleigh Dickinson University for musical theater, to study musical theater. And they would put really large gaps of time in between my classes. And I don't know why, because I was a commuter. So I'm sitting there on the lawn, waiting 3 hours for the next class, and there's a gopher walking by. And I remember just looking at him, and I was just like, why am I here? Like, why am I here? And I went and I sat down and I talked to my mother, and she was like, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it. And she was like, I don't care what else you do, but you have to put your heart into it. And I said, Mom, I want to act, but I don't want to act like this. I feel like I need to be out there learning and actually doing it. So me choosing to be an actor and leaving school at the same time, it was a lot of family and everything that was like, you gonna let her do that? They was on the phone with my mother ASAP. They was like, you gonna let her do this? And I was there I had the Dean Scholarship, I had the Musical Theater Scholarship, like I had lots of scholarships to pay to be there. And everybody's like, what? Like, she's throwing it away. And then as time went on and things started to blossom, and I'ma just say, the support didn't really roll in until I booked FBI Most Wanted and people saw me on TV, and then people was like, oh, bitch, you made it. And I'm like, guys, I've been acting for years. Because people don't see all the work that someone has put into their craft and has been doing, and how they've been asking you to come see the things they've been doing, support it, share it. And then it's that one moment where you could have just been putting a glass of water down on the table and they're like, bitch, you was in bull, like, you know, just, and you like, yes. And then I appreciate that check in that role, but I also did this, and this, and I was talking my ass off and doing everything. So I told myself, if you can model successfully, then you will be able to create visual pictures successfully. So modeling for me was a way of studying my face and of studying my body and studying how much can I emote when I'm not relying on just saying words. And then actually doing photography and things like that is because I've always just been intrigued by like the workings of everything. And I feel like if you can understand everything about your environment, you become better at whatever it is you're doing. So as a model, I became stronger because I understood what the photographer was seeing on their side. I understood when the light is hitting me, if I turn this way or I give this angle. And so it just made me a overall better model. And so I also was very adamant about not putting myself in a box. And so it was also about creating the look that I want other people to see me as. I think when it came to acting, I was a little worried at first because I had heard in the beginning some very snarky comments. When I would go to like certain workshops or showcases where you would try to meet a manager or meet an agent, I would have people question my ethnicity and they would be like, where are you from? Where's your people from? Where's your family from? And to a point where I had to start putting it on my resume so they could just stop asking. But then I remember someone saying to me like, you're fascinating, but I wouldn't know what to do with you. And I was like, what? Like, what does that mean? Someone else told me, I could see you playing like a young urban baby mama. Like, things like that is why I felt like I needed to learn how to capture my own image, because I could already see the box that other people were trying to paint around me. And that kind of just carried over into acting, of learning what a successful picture looked like and being able to deliver that for the camera and the director. Get out. I am tired of trying to pretend that you are worth the trouble. I try to inspire you, motivate you, love you.
But I'm not good enough, huh?
Where's this coming from?
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut.
Mm-hmm. Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut texted you last night. I guess they added white pussy and ass to the menu? Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things people will learn to realize is that rejection is divine protection. And so anyone who has ever looked at me and said, I don't know how to work with you, what to do with you, it's because you're not supposed to. So when I come across people like you, you know, who you're inspired and you're like, let's work. I'm like, let's do this. And we've had a great working friendship and everything all these years because you had the vision and you didn't put me in a box and you didn't put yourself in a box either. Cool. Well, the rental fee is...
How about we split the money?
Really?
I have a certain clientele that's looking for the two-girl experience, and they're willing to pay quite a lot.
I'm flattered, but I don't...
$500 an hour, 50-50. And these gentlemen usually stay a while.
I'm not really into guys like that.
Are you into me?
For myself, I lean very heavily in regards to my intuition. I do remember in the beginning of my career, a director had reached out to me through Backstage and wanted me to audition for like this spy assassin role. And of course that sounds amazing, you know, the lead of it, etc. He said that the co-star of it was someone who was in Orange is the New Black and, you know, all this other stuff. Didn't want to name the guy and everything, but just throwing a name out there. I said, okay, sounds good. We set up to possibly do the audition and we had a phone call and, you know, he's like, do you have any questions for me? Like really seeming in depth. And so I was like, no, I don't really have any questions at the time, but if anything comes up, I'll reach out to you. And so I was like, well, what is required at the audition? Like, do you have a script? Do you have a scene? Anything I should start working on? And he was like, well, you know, we just want to make sure that you'll be committed to the role. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He was like, well, in the audition, there's this one particular scene, like when we film, where she's going to have to, you know, seduce the guy and drug him and like kind of use his DNA for all this extra stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to crush your artistic vision, but this is sounding a little, can you explain a little more? So he was saying, you know, well, in the audition, we just want to see how comfortable you are with the seduction part. Like, you know, some women have brought in a belt and put it around, you know, my neck and this and that. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, you know, and like really get dominant, really get, I was like, hold on, I'm confused. And so the problem is, though, before we got to all that part and all of that was revealed, we had got off the phone after he was saying, like, do you have any questions and stuff? And I was like, no, I don't really have any questions. And I remember sitting there on my bed and just thinking, should I have questions? I was like, you know, is there things that I don't know that I should be asking? And so I remember going to Google and literally looking up what kind of questions should actors have in regards to projects. I started doing research and finding out what is appropriate in an audition, what's not. And that made me kind of have to call him back. And that's when, as I started probing more, he started talking about the whole, oh, well, you know, they sat on my lap, they pulled out a belt, they did da-da-da. And I was like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. He's like, well, I have a female assistant. Would you be comfortable if she was in the room? No, I'm not comfortable with that. So I really think it's important for people to educate themselves. Like I said, educate on the business of whatever it is you're doing so you know when someone is saying something that is abnormal or feels sketchy. Listen to your intuition if something doesn't feel right. And I would say have the courage to say no, to have boundaries and say no. And don't be afraid thinking that I'm going to lose an opportunity. What is for you will always be for you. And I'm pretty sure God ain't want me sitting on some director's lap choking him with a belt. I'm just sure.
All right, so make sure you send me your best pics. I'll set up the snaps and we'll discuss the back page ads later.
This is some next level genius shit.
But you really think guys are gonna pay for Snapchat?
They already are for those big booty white girls, you know. The fitness chicks.
Shit, I might just stay on the Snap after this. Collect my money without having to worry about these lame ass niggas in person.
I don't know. Guys are always gonna pay for the pussy they can touch, honey. Snapchat ain't gonna replace that.
Speaking to you, I could tell that this wasn't something that was just being created just to have women being sexy or, you know, it wasn't about that. I could tell that you were very intentional, you were very careful with the way you was displaying this topic and the information that you have received. And I was like, wow, this is important. I'm like, these are people's stories that need to be heard. These are people who are working in an industry, and I love the fact that you were showing how different women got into it. You know, the fact that one was just out of curiosity and one in that freedom of independence and money. Another one was in a bind and trying to help her family, trying to help herself, and just figuring like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, like these are gonna be my terms. May not have worked out the way she thought, but she was trying. Another thing that really stood out to me about the same coin was how everyone involved looked like they could have been your neighbor, could have been your aunt, your sister. Like it wasn't so sensationalized. Like you couldn't just pinpoint the person out. It's like these are everyday people and you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors or why people are making these choices. And I was like, this is powerful and I want to be a part of this.
$180? You've been here since 10 a.m. and this is all you made?
Look, some days was actually slow.
Yesterday you only made 120.
Why you tripping? Ain't like you up in here giving head with me.
Girl, I might as well be. I wouldn't be handing out these ghetto ass discounts and bringing in these broke niggas.
Oh, excuse me. So now you know the game?
No, Toya. I know value. And you need to up your value. I mean, what services are you offering?
Bitch, ain't no menu.
It might as well be a something. All right, look. So blowjobs are like what, $60? How much you charging for pussy? How much you charging for positions? What if a nigga want to pop off twice but want multiple hours?
Bitch, ain't none of these niggas got money for all that shit you talking. Like,
you know what? Take it. All of it. I can't do this anymore, and maybe you shouldn't either. Take it.
Stephanie is amazing. Like, instantly loved her energy. There's a magic that takes place when the casting is so good that the energy is just like back and forth, like you could just feed off of it and give it. And I feel like working with her really sunk me into the world, like really made it all come alive.
How's Toya doing?
Toya's only bringing in these broke niggas. I don't know, depending on how she does today, I might have to let it go. It's not worth the inconvenience or the risk.
Why not go full pimp on her ass?
You stupid.
Working with him was so chill, and it was crazy because his energy feels like the exact opposite of Steph's. So where Steph feels like this grounded fire, he feels just so chill, so laid back, like, and I think that's how he gets you. Because he makes you think he's just so, you know, and then when these other notes come out, or if he's like sinister, you be like, you know, like, character-wise, acting. He's a wonderful person.
This patient is going through cardiac arrest. Let's bring her to the operating room now. Where's the heart? No, the donor heart. Quick, bring it here. Bring it here.
I was so proud and so excited and happy to go to Newark International Film Festival, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is my first one for, you know, work that I actually created. And I also was so happy to like see you there and for us to be in the same theater and everything like that, because working with you has definitely inspired me. I remember during that time, I was still in the indie sphere of acting, and I had determined that I wanted to get into TV and film. I was like, I don't know what it takes to get there. I don't know what I need, but I want to get there. And so people were telling me, you know, you need a manager, you need an agent. And I told you I was going to the workshops. That was a bit difficult because everybody's like, oh, you know, you're this mythical creature. What are we gonna do with you? I'm like, okay. So I told myself, if they can't see you in things, put yourself in things.
I'm just trying to figure things out, Mom.
And I get that, sweetie, but you're not going to figure out anything sitting in your room. You still have to live your life.
Is it my life?
What do you mean?
A year ago, I should have died. It just doesn't feel right being out here living it up on someone else's time.
Now listen, I know you don't believe in all that stuff. No, listen to me, but everything happens for a reason.
I was not completely fully satisfied with the work. I saw the areas where I could improve, and that really kind of hits you as you're sitting in this theater, it's all blown up, and I was like, ooh, that could have been better. But I remember actually talking to your wife afterwards and kind of telling her that, and she was like, it takes time. And she was like, and now you know where to start and where to go from there. And she was saying, you know, like, Cris has been working at this for years. And so that was just inspiring to be like, it gets better. And I had this other feeling that was like, go try voice acting. And I had never thought to try voice acting.
You bring your best. We'll block the threats. Cyber protection for everyone. Malware bites. You can manage stress before it manages you. Introducing a smarter way to transform your health. Sometimes I can't tell myself from my machine. I think that's by design.
I was blessed to have a recurring role in East New York as Latasha Quick, so you can go see me on air. I was a recurring in The Resident, and that was so much fun.
Status.
10-year-old female presenting with a fever over 104 and flu-like symptoms. Sats over.
She spiked a high fever last night, became nauseous, and started vomiting.
Then she had trouble breathing. Okay, trauma bay 10. Hundley?
A big thing that I try to always keep in mind is gratefulness. And I think that when we lose sight of it, we become insatiable. And I see it a lot, especially in this career, especially because the nature of being an actor is you are essentially always unemployed. Like when you finish one job, you are always searching for the next one. And so for me, I feel successful already, but that doesn't necessarily make me complacent. I remember literally saying, like, I just want to be an actor. I just want to bring other people's stories to life. And Spirit was like, no, you're not going to just be anything. And because it didn't come to me so quickly, I had to learn how to become a writer. I had to learn how to work the camera, how to direct, how to, you know, I had to expand. And because there was a greater purpose there. And as a result of that, I don't ever feel like just an actor. I feel like I don't have to wait for the next job because I can write the next job. I can create the next job. So I'm never hungry for what someone else can give me. I'm already full on what I'm giving myself.